George Jones was a doughty defender of local government against the relentless centralization successive governments have visited upon Britain. He had a long career at the London School of Economics, and was a stalwart of London's university and think tank scene, attending seminars and other events until the week of his death at the age of 79. His research also covered the cabinet and the office of Prime Minister. He believed in intellectual precision and the straightforward expression of ideas. He would, from time to time, and as a compliment, describe someone as a simplifier of a particular complex field. This he was himself. His doctorate, published as Borough Politics, 1969, concerned the local government of his home city, Wolverhampton. His intense interest in politics and the interaction between the personal and the political led him to write, with Bernard Danu, Herbert Morrison, Portrait of a Politician, which was reissued with a foreword by Morrison's grandson, Peter Mandelson, in 2001. Jones much admired Morrison's approach to politics and government. He wrote extensively, including the first study of prime ministers, private secretaries in the prime minister's, secretaries, politicians or administrators, which was published in the book From Policy to Administration, 1976. In 2013, he wrote, with Andrew Blick, At Power's Elbow, Aids to the Prime Minister from Robert Walpole to David Cameron. On the dust jacket was a picture of Cameron with Andy Cowlson, his communications director until compelled to resign by media coverage of phone hacking. George's final publication, written with Steve Leach and John Stewart, Centralization, Devolution and the Future of Local Government in England, will be published this summer. Its subject is entirely apt, because a concern for the autonomy and democratic protection of local government was a major element in his work throughout the period following his membership of the Layfield Inquiry into Local Government Finance, 1974-76. He and Stewart, from Birmingham University and also a member of Layfield, were long-time company authors of books and articles. Born in Wolverhampton, he was the son of Welsh parents, George, a tire courier for Goodyear, and his wife, Grace, née Cowmeadow. He attended Wolverhampton Grammar School, then studied history at Jesus College, Oxford, and undertook his doctorate at Nuffield College, Oxford. At university, he was a Gatescellite member of the Labour Party, and at the 1964 general election stood in Kidderminster. His first academic job, in 1963, came as an assistant lecturer at the University of Leeds, and in 1966 he moved to the Hull, where he was appointed Professor of Government in 1976 and remained until his retirement in 2003. Though he continued as a lively emeritus professor thereafter, he also continued to play Father Christmas at the Hull Children's Party each December. He was a committee member of the Political Studies Association, 1969-75, of the Hansard Society, 1968-70, and of the London Journal, 1973-80. He pursued a wide range of related interests outside the Hull. He was a board member of the Royal Institute of Public Administration, 1984-90, and of the National Consumer Council, 1991-99, and was appointed OB in recognition of his work with the latter. Despite his reservations about them, He advised parliamentary select committees and was a regular evidence giver. He was an honorary fellow of the Institute of Local Government Studies at the University of Birmingham, and had a string of other visiting positions in other institutions. His teaching style was clear, authoritative, and occasionally combative. He provided an objective analysis of aspects of British government, but made it clear where his personal sympathies lay. Directly elected executive mayors, for example, were less favored by him than traditional collective council leadership. Throughout his long career at Seoul, he was responsible for sustaining its study of the capital, working until 1980 with Professor William Robson, whose 1939 book The Government and Misgovernment of London paved the way for today's metropolitan government. Robson was a protégé of Sidney and Beatrice Webb. So George in part embodied a linear connection between the contemporary study of government and the Seoul activist founders. In a world of referendums and autocrats, the way mature democracies sustain checks on sovereign power is noble work. George, in defense of local government, believed in the dispersal of power which, in turn, should be as far as possible in the hands of directly elected representatives. His other interests included the cinema and a voracious consumption of political biographies. Laurel and Hardy were a big favorite, and his knowledge of 1940s and 50s film noir and of westerns was encyclopedic. He was also a rapid, thoughtful, and generous editor of other people's work. In 1963 he married Diana Bedwell. She survives him, along with their daughter, Rebecca, son, Max, and 3 grandchildren, Isabel, Oscar, and Henry. George William Jones, political scientist, born 4 February 1938, died 14 April 2017.